Okay, let's dive right into this. Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're unpacking the genetic and visual truth behind the absolutely stunning colors of the Norwegian Forest Cat.
So, to kick things off, that gorgeous cat you just scrolled past on your feed, is it actually gray? What's kind of fascinating is that our eyes deceive us all the time. As you'll see in our explainer today, both tricky lighting and some seriously wild genetics play major tricks on our perception. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover basic colors and patterns, look at solid, smoke, and tabby variations, discuss rarity and market value, explore lighting and visual distortion, and finally go over some ideal photography techniques. Let's get to it! Section 1, Basic Colors and Patterns. These are your coat fundamentals.
To really get this breed, we've got to separate two concepts that, honestly, almost everyone gets mixed up. On one hand, we have the base color. That's the genetic foundation, like black, blue, red, or brown. On the other hand is the pattern. Think of the pattern as a style overlay, like solid or tabby. And this brilliantly illustrates how a single base color can show up in completely different patterns, and vice versa. The big question here is, where do all these colors even come from? Take the brown tabby. It's the most common color. And why? Well, it acted as the ultimate natural camouflage out in the harsh Norwegian wilderness. Then you have solid black, which is just uniform pigmentation from root to tip, and the black tabby, showing off these dark gray-black stripes on a lighter gray background. The sheer, wild variety we see today, it all traces back to the breed's unmanaged natural origins in Scandinavia. Nature called the shots here, not human aesthetic preferences. Now, remember that question I asked at the start? That gray cat you're looking at is technically called a blue dilute. It's basically a genetically diluted form of black that creates this incredibly soft coat. Why does this matter? Because a true standalone gray doesn't even exist as a separate genetic category in this breed. So, genetic mystery solved. Moving on to Section 2, Visual Differences. We're looking at solids, smokes, and tabbies. Let's break down the actual visual patterns breeders and buyers are hunting for. The contrast here is pretty stark. Solids demand that the hair shaft has completely consistent pigmentation from the very root down to the tip. Meanwhile, tabbies feature these bold stripes or swirls, contrasting against a much lighter background. It's kind of crazy to think that the exact same base color is working behind the scenes for both of these looks. Okay, get ready for what is, hands down, the coolest visual illusion in the breed, the smoke pattern. There's this specific gene at play that leaves the hair shaft super pale near the skin, but keeps the tips fully pigmented. So, what does that mean? When the cat is just sitting there, it looks solid, but the absolute second it walks or a breeze catches its fur, this dramatic pale undercoat just flashes through. It is literally mesmerizing. And while we're backstage with the biology, the data throws us some wild curveballs. The genetics of this breed is like a massive multi-generational puzzle. For instance, tortoiseshell patterns, they show up almost exclusively in females, simply because that gene is tied to the X chromosome. On the flip side, some visual traits carry health implications. White cats with blue eyes have a significantly higher, documented risk of deafness. Section 3, Rarity and Market Value. Let's talk about the economics of colors. So, why exactly do certain colors cost hundreds of dollars more than others? Well, it's pretty straightforward. Standard colors, like our good old brown tabby or solid black, sit at a base price because they're widely produced. But rare colors like golden, true silver, or tortoiseshell command a premium price tag. Take a golden cat, for example. That's not just simple genetic dominance. That's the result of incredibly difficult selective breeding probabilities. That sheer rarity directly drives up the market value. Now, it's worth noting that the quest for unique colors does hit a hard wall officially. FIFe, the International Feline Federation, actually excludes certain colors from show standards. As you can see, chocolate, cinnamon, their dilutes like lilac and fawn, and the Siamese-style pointed pattern. And to be clear, FIFe doesn't reject these for cosmetic reasons. They exclude them because these colors are a massive red flag indicating crossbreeding in the past that betrays the pure Scandinavian landrace lineage breeders are working so hard to protect. Section 4, Lighting and Visual Distortion. Why you shouldn't just trust your eyes. Here's where things get tricky. Everything you just learned about colors, it can be totally thrown out the window by bad lighting. Lighting literally alters how the coat appears, and casual phone photos taken indoors cause huge misunderstandings. For example, under warm indoor light, a blue cat can falsely look brown. And under harsh overhead sunlight, a brown tabby can easily masquerade as solid black. It happens all the time. Which brings us to Section 5, Ideal Photography Techniques for Capturing True Colors.
Whether you're a breeder building a portfolio or a buyer verifying an online listing, you absolutely have to nail these techniques. First up, use indirect natural daylight. It is the only way to see the true coat tone. Second, avoid direct sunlight or harsh bulbs. They just wash out the color nuances completely. And third, this is a big one for buyers, never ever rely on just one photo. You need to examine multiple photos under different mixed lighting conditions to really verify what you're looking at. To wrap up the practical side of things, your detective work can only go so far. At the end of the day, official genetic paperwork from organizations like FIFe or TICA is the only indisputable proof of a cat's color when you're making a purchase. A reputable breeder is always going to hand over that documentation rather than just relying on verbal promises or some casual blurry photos. So that leaves us with this final thought. When you think about the ancient forests, this hidden dilute genes, the sheer complexity of breeding, is the color of this cat just nature's utilitarian camouflage? Or is it the signature of a centuries-old genetic puzzle? The Norwegian Forest Cat isn't just a pet. It's a living, breathing masterpiece of natural evolution. I really hope this explainer helps you look at these amazing felines in a totally new light. Thanks so much for joining us, and keep exploring.